So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Catalyze programs and funding opportunities. My name is Patrick Ahern with RTI, and I'll be helping out with the virtual room today. Please note when you log in, your microphone will be automatically muted with web cameras turned off. Today's session is being recorded, and it will be posted on the Catalyze website in the few days following the webinar. During today's session, the chat is disabled for participants, but if you have any questions for our presenters or any technical issues with Zoom, you may submit those into the Q&A window at any time throughout the presentation. Closed captioning is available during today's webinar, and you may turn those on by clicking on the Show Captions button in your main Zoom toolbar. So at this time, I'll go ahead and turn the meeting over to my colleague Marissa to introduce today's session. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Patrick. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We're very excited to have you here for today's programmatic webinar on the NHLBI Catalyze program. And today we're specifically focused on upcoming funding opportunities that are coming available. So for any first-time webinar attendees, my name is Marissa Eastman, and I serve on the side of the Catalyze Coordinating Center at RTI International. And like I said, with both product definition and preclinical submission deadlines upcoming, today is really all about helping you decide whether Catalyze is the right fit and important key distinctions of the program compared to others, like the NHI Small Business Program, so the SBIR, STTR programs. Today, we have our colleagues from NHLBI on the line, Mike Pieck, Rahul Thakar, Nitin Agrawal, and Tom Hu, along with our RTI team, Diana Severynse-Stevens and Sudie Rowshan. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'll turn it over to NHLBI for an overview of the program.
Great, thanks Marissa, and welcome everyone to what has become somewhat of an annual webinar on the Catalyze program. So just to get started here with kind of a big visual, big picture of what we support. So shown on this little depiction are the steps within the product definition, product development journey that we support. And on the right are kind of the high marks of this program that are somewhat unique. And that includes our great partner RTI, who provides expert technical and business support for each project that we support. We also have a focus on trying to advance these technology and leverage our investments. So we push investigators to identify business partners and sometimes come in with matching funds. In addition, as you see on the left here, there is a continuous on-ramp to the program to support many different stages of development. And really kind of focusing in on the development part, we leverage milestone-driven project management principles and requirements in order to help you achieve your technical development goals in the short timeline that you're with us. And then once you are in the program, we always want to learn from you to make sure that the program is flexible and responding to the evolving needs of our awardees and stakeholders. So if we zoom in a little bit closer to what exactly we do support, so on top is kind of the full spectrum of support we provide from early rolling out of an RL1, for example, technologies or therapeutics, all the way up to that last stage for FDA approval. We do not support clinical trials, so that's where we hand it off to one of our other programs here at the NHLBI to support the clinical stage of development. And pretty much everything in between, we have some sort of support for your technology. And again, we are technology agnostic and support the entire mission of the National Heart, Lung, and Blood and Sleep Institute. So if your technology is outside of NHLBI's mission space, it's great to learn about it, but you'll want to check with us before you submit to make sure that you are within our mission versus one of our other parent or our other institutes at the NIH. So to achieve the support across that full spectrum of a lot of development, we've broken up the Catalyze program into different components. For early stage support, we have grant funding mechanisms that we'll walk through called the product definition program. And for later stage programs, projects kind of getting ready for those last interactions with the FDA prior to starting your clinical trials, we have a contract-based preclinical services that RTI, the Catalyze Coordinating Center, runs on our behalf. And on the bottom there are some things that may be unique to some, and those are technology readiness levels. And so if it's early stage, it has a lower number. And if it's a higher number TRL, then it's more advanced, closer to commercialization. So before we start, we know that we have a lot of our small business community attending today, given that the SBIR and STTR reauthorization hasn't happened yet. Unfortunately, we don't have any update on when that might happen, but we thought that we would walk you through so that you can see if this program might help support some of your needs while you wait for the SBIR and STTR programs to start. So just really simply here in this table, you all know that the SBIR and STTR have, federally mandated or congressionally mandated requirements on the type of entities that may apply, and indeed where the research activity has to take place. So for Catalyze, we are more loose and aren't restricted to those guidelines and requirements. And so we allow outsourcing to contract organization. This oftentimes makes sense for a lot of individuals, and sometimes you generate better data because they have the assays and they already know how to do the work. The principal investigator, guidance with and alignment with the administration's priorities. They must be U.S.-based organizations. However, they can be for-profit or nonprofit, large or small for-profit, that is. And for partnerships, we allow partnerships. We encourage partnerships. And slightly different than the STTR program where you're required to partner with a nonprofit institution. Our requirements are for the R33 phase of the product definition awards. And as you get later stage in preclinical, to have some sort of accelerator or business development type of organization or entity that's associated with your grant or project. And then just to reiterate that foreign subawards are not allowed for the Catalyze program or for any of the US-owned STTR, SBIR applications and awards, with very few exceptions, that is. And then just if you're looking at kind of what we want in our applications versus what's expected in an SBI or STTR. So the Catalyze grant, product definition grant application is very similar to maybe a phase 1 SBI or STTR. We do not require any commercialization plan, a separate plan that is. However, we do have an eye on, commercialization in that we require an IP and regulatory strategy. A little different than the SBR or STTR, we require structured milestones to be written into the research aims and a project manager to be identified. And then for the R33 phase, we do expect some sort of matching funds from a non-federal source to help advance the technologies toward commercialization. Next slide, please. So I'm going to hand the virtual mic here over to Diana and let her talk a little bit about the resources and amazing team that she has from the coordinating center side. So Diana, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So a unique aspect of the Catalyze program is that in addition to your product definition funding and your preclinical services, there's access to free services and resources within the coordinating center. What this means is that we have experts that are available to provide support on various aspects of your product development. And because we have a very diverse portfolio of products in Catalyze, including small molecules, biologics, cell and gene therapies, enabling technologies and devices, we try to have experts within the coordinating center and our network of consultants that have expertise in each of the product types that are within the program. And so that means we have experts that are chemists, pharmacologists, we have toxicologists, bioengineers, we have commercialization mentors, and regulatory affairs staff that can provide guidance on regulatory strategy, can review your regulatory documents, help you with FDA meetings, and submit documents to CBER, CDER, and CDRH. Another unique aspect is that we provide monthly webinars, and we have an annual meeting in which we have panels and speakers that can discuss topics relevant to your medical product development. So these are all resources that are available to you at no charge once you're in the Catalyze program. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Diana. And I think, again, just to kind of reiterate some of what Diana spoke about is that kind of really focused support from the technical team from RTI, Catalyze Coordinating Center. You can go to the next slide, please. This slide kind of depicts the high touch program that it is versus, you get funding through another type of grant mechanism. And then once a year, you might talk to your program officer and send them a report. In contrast, we check in on you through the coordinating center and the technical experts and their project management team frequently to make sure that, one, you're on track, you haven't identified additional risks or challenges, and if you have, give you some sort of resources to help figure out the challenge. And really, this all starts before awarding the program. We work with you to kind of right-size the milestones for the accelerated timeline of 3 years that we generally have for the product definition program. And then during the kickoff meeting, we all meet together, get to know each other, and then we, the kind of federal team, hand you off for the technical meetings to the Catalyze Coordinating Center. We still attend, of course, but they will be helping you drive success toward your technology. And as shown here, the different checkpoints, there's options for meeting with, as Diana mentioned, the technical team, the regulatory team, or sometimes even the business development team to help advance your technology and better understand the kind of go-to-market strategy as it gets more developed. And as she mentioned there in the middle, we do have an annual cohort-based annual meeting, which is generally a lot of fun. We do pitch competitions and such like that. And over on the right is another kind of novel piece, is that we do encourage kind of junior staff and team members to join these meetings for their own education and career development. And we do have kind of a focus on that kind of skills development piece for all of the members of the awardees. Next slide, please. So not sure if someone can bring this up live on the website, but we've kind of developed this decision tree tool for individuals to use to better help determine what part of the program you might be ready for. So if Patrick, if you're driving, can you press yes? So the first question is, do you have an indication? That's fairly simple. So if you press yes, it's going to drive you one way, and just make sure that you are eligible. Press yes again. I won't walk through this whole thing, but just to show you that. And then this is really for you to figure out, because we have at the top there, you can see we have FAQ, we have resources pages, we have a lot of different information so that you can navigate and figure out if you just need regulatory support or if you're ready for funding. And so based on those two decision trees, it's going to show you to either contact the NHLBI for more and a program officer here, or it may push you to the Catalyze Coordinating Center, who helps manage more of the preclinical services component. You always have access to the NHLBI, and we strongly encourage that you contact us before you apply so that we can provide feedback on mission fit, but sometimes common mistakes that we see after looking at many hundreds of these in some cases. All right, so we can go back to the slides. I just wanted to make sure that people were aware that we do have a website, and it's chock full of a lot of information that's curated regularly to make sure it's fresh and up to date. All right, so we're going to focus in on the earliest stage of the Catalyze program. This is the product definition component, where we support through 5 funding mechanisms, kind of the therapeutics development, device diagnostic development, and then kind of platform or enabling technologies, as we call it. So Patrick, you can go to the next slide, please. So again, this is for the early stage development of therapeutics, devices, and platform technologies, as I mentioned. The next application submission deadline is February 11th, and this goes through the traditional grants.gov and is reviewed by the NIH Center for Scientific Review. Starting on the left, we have R33. This is a 2-year grant program for enabling technologies and transformative platforms, and this is for technologies that may not have a specific indication, but if developed would kind of open up a bottleneck in research or development of novel new technologies. In the center bucket, there are 2 options for the small molecules, biologics, and combination products. And just to highlight, the combination product should be a combination product that has at least one biological component. We have a biphasic R61, R33 program for early stage development where you may be screening libraries to identify a lead series, or we have a direct to R33, similar to like a phase 2, where you may have developed a lead series, but you now want to, optimize one compound or product for additional study. Similarly, for the device and diagnostic pipeline, we have that biphasic mechanism for early stage. And then for slightly later stages, we have the R33, direct to R33 2-year program. And I think this part I'm going to hand off to Rahul, who can walk you through the rest of the product definition and preclinical program. Rahul, off to you. Over to you.
Hi, my name's Rahul Thakar, and thank you, Mike. The key thing we want to relay to you here is, again, there's 2 general tracks, right? You have your therapeutics, you have your device diagnostics and tools. The thing in the 2 middle black boxes, that's where you really have to consider where your entry point is into the program. If you're coming in as an R61, R33, then you have a total of 3 years you can spend. So how you use those 3 years, do you want to use 1 year as an R61 and 2 years in an R33, or vice versa, 2 years in an R61 and 1 year in an R33? Both are possible. It comes down to how advanced or mature your technology is and what you have to fit, the scope of what these notice of funding opportunities, NOFOs, are. I will ask you to consider, however, that if you are doing it as a 1-year R61 and 2-year R33, those matching funds you're responsible for showing evidence of that upon conversion into the R33. And that goes for coming in for an R33, a direct to R33 under the therapeutics as well as a diagnostic device. If you're coming in under the enabling technologies, that's the NOFO that ends in hyphen or dash 016 or 16. No matching funds upon start of that. And finally, in terms of the other special requirements, I want to highlight the rigor and reproducibility. Anyone who has followed HHS as well as NIH and new strategies and new plans coming forward, this is very much of critical importance. Catalyze is aligned with the NIH and its strategic objectives. So please follow, those sorts of things. Pay attention to your milestones, have robust and rigorous milestones, and have a project management plan in place. Details on all of those are available on you can find them on the Catalyze website through the FAQ. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is some information about the preclinical services program as well as regulatory support. We have a window coming up rather soon, January 26th through February 13th. It is a 2-step application. One, you will submit an expression of interest. You can think of this as a mini or pre-application. It gives RTI, our coordinating center, as well as our NHLBI staff an idea of what's coming in, what matches up programmatically, what merits appropriate scientific rigor. From the expression of interest, there's another window that comes at a later point in time where full applications will be submitted. This entire cycle will occur over the course of the first half of 2026. We'll announce our decisions at a time after that. The websites below the 2 hyperlinks, please go there for more information on the preclinical program as well as the regulatory services only. And both will be requested in the same manner. Next slide, please. Thank you. Again, more details in terms of how the preclinical services program works. The red box with the white hyperlink, even more details. The key thing you need to understand about preclinical services is you are essentially crafting a scope of work, an SOW. You will submit that SOW. It'll be vetted, essentially the scientific plan, the study, whatnot. When funding is determined or issued, it will never actually go to you. It goes directly to your CRO, CDMO, whatever service provider, contract, subcontract, whatever is performing those services. but you will manage the study. You will receive your data, obviously, and Catalyze and NHLBI will be there to assist you as you go through that process. One last thing, in general, keep your budgets to about $1 million or less. That's a general rule of thumb for us, and about 12 months of a timeline. Next slide, please. Finally, regulatory services. Again, it's a piece of the preclinical services. The activities on my left, hopefully your screen on the left, those blue bullets are roughly an example of the sets of activities that are permissible. And RTI and Catalyze have had a great success in terms of helping our grantees, our applicants move forward with these sorts of activities. Next slide, please. Finally, some of you may be curious about what sorts of projects or technologies, things that we fund. These are just a fraction or a small, drop in the entire bucket of what Catalyze is funding and what RTI as the coordinating center, how its subject matter expertise, its available subject matter expertise can cover the entirety of the program and the diversity of the types of technology and products and whatnot. If you want a full and detailed list, again, another link at the bottom will take you to the entire portfolio that we have within Catalyze. I think you'll see that it's an incredibly complex as well as a very chock full of variety in terms of the types of things that we fund. The key thing you need to remember, match the intent of the NOFO within heart, lung, blood, and sleep. Thank you. Next slide. Oh, and well, here we are. There's some Q&A time here. Please take note of the second large bullet point on the left on the deadlines. Again, preclinical EOIs are coming up as well. And again, US academics, nonprofit, as well as for-profit institutions are welcome. That FAQ page will be absolutely remarkable in terms of some of the questions, really a lot of the procedural questions and things like that. There's a lot of NHLBI staff working on Catalyze. It's not to say that we're busy, but sometimes you'll get a faster response if you look at the answer there and then leave some of the more programmatic fit and whatnot for, say, Tom, Nitin, me, Mike, our other colleagues who are on this call. We're always here to help you. We'll do our best, and we appreciate your patience. Sometimes there's a high volume right now on inquiries and whatnot, and we're doing our best to go through all that. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that presentation, everyone. I think we'll move now so we have plenty of time for question and answer to your questions that you've submitted already in the question and answer poll, as well as we can take additional as they roll in. So I think I would like to start. Maybe we could dive into explaining a little bit more about what enabling technologies encompass, if there are software requirements or if any type of software, AI, machine learning component is applicable.
Yeah, so the Enabling Technology Transformative Platform, we funded a very wide spectrum, everything from xeno heart transplant for pediatrics to new data analytics. So I think it probably fits. And again, that's why we want you to reach out to us so that we can help find someone at the NHLBI to speak to you about your technology and give you feedback on mission fit. It's intentionally broad, that's for sure.
Great. Thank you, Mike. And I'm just putting in the chat right now those email addresses for you to get in touch with us. So the first is catalyze_info. That's our broad email inbox if you just want more program information, maybe to assess your fit for the program. Catalyze_application. That's more for specific application related questions. and then NHLBI_Catalyze. That goes directly to NHLBI. So specifically, if you want to talk to a program officer, understand your milestones and your products fit from their perspective, I would go for that email address. Okay, let's move on to, are there any funding avenues through Catalyze for health-focused educational technology product development? We are an active SBIR Phase 1 awardee.
So again, I think this is where if you already have a Phase 1, that means you already have a program officer that you work with. And I would recommend reaching out to them first. We have reviewed and considered some health educational, I think it was like physician training type technologies in the past. But again, it's a 2-tier review, like most everything else. We have the scientific review, and then we have the portfolio balance across the NHLBI. So I think, again, we're open to consider it. No guarantees for funding though.
Thank you. Okay, this one is getting at eligibility requirements. Can a non-US citizen postdoc researcher based in the United States apply for the Catalyze program? And more broadly, what are the eligibility requirements?
Rahul, you want to take that?
Yes. So, well, let me add this. Let me put the actual. I can't find the question right now, but I had found the actual language. Anyone with the requisite skills and expertise required to conduct a project that meets the intent of the NOFO, as well as what we call the SF 424. It's your cover sheet instructions, whatever, for an application. You are welcome to apply. In general, U.S. citizenship is it makes this a little bit easier, but it doesn't necessarily preclude in certain conditions.
Great. Yes. Any additional specific questions, feel free to reach out to us. All right. Are letters of support required for product definition submissions? And if so, how many and from whom should they be from?
Letters of support. Letters of support are tricky because sometimes people feel that, if you demonstrate a lot of support by way of letters, it's a good thing. I would argue that fewer letters and letters that are bespoke or tailored to the exact application and the nature of the collaboration or work are more appropriate. It's also increases the probability that they will actually be reviewed and taken seriously when you submit an application. So I would strongly recommend that applications that show, say, an intent for some sort of accelerator partner to come on board or a very critical collaboration, something like that would be a very appropriate sort of letter to include.
Great. Thank you, Rahul. All right. We are waiting to hear results of our SBIR Phase 1 submitted in September. Are we eligible to propose the same or similar project milestones to Catalyze?
No, because just take an R43, a Phase 1 SBIR, there is a certain amount of overlap in, say, the scope of work there versus an R61, R33, or R33 only. Similarly, with a SBIR Phase 2, at least at NHLBI, we can fund up to a Phase 1 and sometimes a portion of a Phase 2 clinical trial. Again, Catalyze is a preclinical program. So it's not as simple as doing a one-to-one match. I would strongly urge you to look at the scope of the NOFO that you're applying. Reach out to a program officer. If you have any hesitation for cardiovascular sciences, reach out to me. For lung division, Tom, and Nitin for blood division. Sleep can also go to Tom. If you can't remember that, reach out to Mike. yeah, it's not as, I would not just recycle what you've done.
Great. Thank you, Rahul. And that reminds me, I'll put each of your division affiliations in the chat in just a moment. Okay, the website states that there are expected to be 8 grants awarded per year. Could you clarify if this is 8 grants per NOFO or split across all of the different NOFOs?
Generally speaking, excuse me, the Enabling Technologies Transformative Platform has its own kind of descriptor. I think we fund 4 or 5 per year. And then the other number is the likely number we'll support for the 4 biphasic, the 2 biphasic and the 2 direct to R33s. However, we do sometimes have budget availability, so we may have some flexibility there, but that's just generally speaking, that's the number we will support per year. And also given how many resources we provide to the investigators, we generally like to have a smaller cohort size so that we can maintain that high level of support.
Thanks, Mike. For the R61, R33 phased awards, how much time is allowed on each phase? I'm not quite understanding the distinction and timeline clearly. Is it 1 year R61, 2 years R33, or is there flexibility within that time frame?
Marissa, what was the gist of that question again? I was answering something in the chat.
Oh, no worries. It was asking what the timeline is per each phase. And if
for product definition, yes.
Correct.
Again, there's no one size that fits all. We have seen instances where people propose things within on the order of months, say 1.5 years or 18 months for an R61, and then the remainder of the time on the R33. That works well in conventional settings. The one thing that is not taken into account is NIH, its grants management and whatnot, and what sort of intricacies that includes. I would urge you to look at it as either 1 or 2 year tranches, 1 to 2 years in an R61, and then the remainder of the 3 years in the R33. If you're doing a direct to R33, I would strongly urge you to look at it as a 2-year award, unless you're very confident in your ability to sell your timeline to review, that 1 year would be sufficient to complete your tasks. And to be honest, the extra year of funding is always a good thing.
Right. Several questions asking if we have sample phased awards or sample grants that can be shared.
NHLBI does not, and that's in general for the entire any mechanism that comes through NHLBI. However, we have great friends over at NIAID as well as NCI, and for a few programs at NIBIB, you can look up similar types of programs to Catalyze and look for those sorts of materials at those institutes off their websites. Again, it doesn't map directly to our application and our request, but it gives you the idea of the type of content, what milestones, what metrics of success for a milestone, how you measure a milestone, what those would look like. Again, I don't mean to sound like a record that's broken, but the default answer for this would be reach out to your program officer, reach out to one of us here on this panel, use NIH Matchmaker if you want to find somebody whose portfolio fingerprint matches the nature of your proposal.
Great. Okay. Also, several questions. This always comes up, so you're not alone, applicants. Could you please define what you mean by the term accelerator and what specifically is required of the accelerator? And finally, there was another question, if accelerators are required to provide matching funds.
Mike, do you have this one?
So generally speaking, what we're hoping for, and this is really more focused on for our more academic oriented investigators, maybe pre-company. We know that they struggle sometimes to identify entrepreneurs within their either within their networks or assistance with helping with the business part of their technology development. So the idea of the accelerator requirement was to push academic investigators and some small businesses even to identify an entity. So a lot of academic universities now have like a venture studio or a venture office that provides some training on developing a commercialization plan. They can help with developing a startup. But more importantly, they have that broader reach to identify potential network entrepreneurs and future investors. So that was the vision for that accelerator partner requirement. We do, if you're in the R61, R33, as a reminder, you don't have to have identified that accelerator partner before joining the program. And it's been a very diverse mix of accelerator partners, everything from, like I mentioned, excuse me, university venture studio or venture office, up to even a CRO who has like an accelerator arm to it. They are not required to provide matching funds. However, if they do, that'd be great. Oftentimes they do in-kind donations, but that might be another place to identify a qualified project manager for your project too.
Great. Okay. And then finally, the final accelerator partner question, I think, do you have examples of approved accelerators?
We don't have a cleared list of accelerator partners. And I think that's part of our role is kind of the neutral part of the equation as the federal government. But if you just search biotech accelerators, there's going to be a full spectrum of, well-known famous ones, like Y Combinator, Techstars, all those. Those are usually probably not the ones that meet your needs, and you're probably going to look closer to your more regional, like mass bio type of organizations to identify accelerator partners.
Great. Okay. Specifically for devices, I am unclear why an early feasibility study is included in product definition, even though it's technically a human clinical trial.
I could take that one. It comes down to a potato, what you would determine a early feasibility trial to be, or what you consider early feasibility to be. I would urge you to look at it more as a TRL or technology readiness level issue, and matching up a TRL with the phase of not phase rather, but the portion of Catalyze that you are entering. If you want to discuss this more in depth, I'd love to do so. We can do that offline.
Great, thank you, Rahul. In general, I think this is probably speaking to the product definition grant funded program, but the question is, are these applications scored, or what determines whether you will be selected to participate?
Pardon, is this for the product definition?
I'm assuming so, yes.
So yes.
Yes.
So as you know, there are no actual pay lines currently at NIH. Catalyze has in the past utilized something called a zone of consideration. Zone of consideration is something that uses your priority score and it sets a zone. You're welcome to look up NHLBI's funding and operating guidelines. They're publicly posted throughout a fiscal year and definitely at the conclusion of a fiscal year. Catalyze previously has used a zone of consideration from a priority score as competitive as a 10 all the way to a 40. And within that, it comes down to a programmatic decision among the Catalyze steering committee and among the different divisions in terms of how to go forward with projects that are rigorous and competitive scientifically, but also meet the needs of what each division has for their strategic plans.
Thank you, Rahul. Okay, I'm trying to get through all of the product definition ones before moving on to preclinical, but could you expand on the program management section that's required? Is that part of the 12 pages of strategy section or something additional?
You have that one.
So generally speaking, within the research 12 pages, you're going to want to, if you're an R61, R33, you're going to structure the 12 pages with one section for R61, one section for R33. At the end, you're going to provide some sort of Gantt chart or table to kind of depict the duration of your award and which milestones are likely going to land where. And along with that, there'd be a narrative summary on the project management qualifications, and that can also be included in the budget bio sketch if they're a key personnel. We know that it's probably unlikely that you can hire a project manager before you get funds. So generally speaking, we want you to describe who you have in mind or what level. And sometimes we can assist with transitioning the project management from the principal investigator to someone else, given that they'll be in frequent conversations with the coordinating centers, project managers in between milestones. And we found that the PIs don't have the time for that type of interactions with our team. And also on our website, we have a whole resource page on project management, how to hire one, what to look for in a project manager. So feel free to reach out after you've read that information as well, if you still have questions.
Great. If we are a for-profit business, do we still need an accelerator partner?
So it is a requirement to have a letter of support for, generally speaking, what we've done with, we have some publicly traded companies, and clearly they don't need an accelerator because they're already publicly traded. But generally speaking, for those more advanced teams, a letter of support from the CEO of the company is sufficient for the accelerator partner requirement.
Okay. If you are a PI at a research university, also with a startup, is it possible to have the startup apply for Catalyze and contract the university lab to complete part of the milestones and scope of work, similar to an STTR?
If you are able to, I would urge you to make sure that you have considered any implications on your IP and, you address those issues with your institution, hopefully before you submit.
Okay. I am transitioning to Catalyze from SBIR, and I'm unclear on whether a Catalyze budget allows a fee for small companies or if this is not allowed.
No, there's no for-profit fees allowed for Catalyze.
Okay. There are a few questions about neonatal technologies. If our product is focused on helping neonatal patients, or previously I think I saw a fetal monitor, does Catalyze support the development of such a product?
Yes, as long as it's in our heart, lung, blood, sleep mission space, we've supported, I think, 4 pediatric products so far.
Yes. Okay. All right, I think we'll start to move on to some preclinical questions here. Are there any preclinical development activities for a therapeutic that would not be supported by Catalyze?
Well, the strategy we take is tell us what you need and we'll see if we can help you. Now, what shouldn't you put in there? So we really want this to be, the preclinical program is structured so that we will support a few milestones. Maybe you find support for another milestone somewhere else, and then you can come back to the program. It's clearly focused. It's based on the small budget we have. We can't support large multi-year preclinical programs. We're here to help you with those in between stages that generally don't review well for, like a phase 2 SBIR or phase 2B SBIR, or some of the other clinical trial mechanisms, or to provide some of that funding where an investor might be ready to come in if they just have a little more data. It's targeted support versus open door support.
Great. Okay. Could some of the medical device preclinical testing be conducted at a non-US site if there is no US expertise or locations available?
So again, there's additional concern and scrutiny on sending US government funds to foreign entities. So we take those case by case. They are reviewed by the State Department and others for foreign risk assessment. So you would want to contact us before proposing a foreign component of your project.
Okay. And just to reiterate, Stan, a question in the chat, correct. No clinical trials are covered, but yes, CMC and manufacturing is within scope. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to... Can Catalyze assist with patient recruitment for obtaining, say, plasma samples in the R33 phase?
So maybe, Diane, I'm going to switch back to you. I can't remember if we helped some of our private investigators who are having trouble with, at what level did we help our prior investigators who are having struggles with patient recruitment? I just don't recall from what we've done in the past.
Yeah, so we have had some studies where they've been seeking samples from patients. This is abroad, not within the US. We did try and reach out to our network. We don't specifically recruit patients for you, but if we have connections through our networks, we will certainly introduce you to those institutions or investigators. But we don't per se do patient recruitment.
Thank you, Diana. Who is the best contact person to discuss feasibility of our grant for sickle cell treatment?
Where's Nitin?
He's here. There he is.
Right
Nitin.
here.
Please reach out to Nitin,
You can
from our
talk to me.
Eligibility.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. And yes, just to, I just typed an answer in the chat for this, but I will send out all of the links to important resources on our website where you can find the recording of this webinar as well as the slide deck and relevant email addresses after this webinar. Thanks for letting me know Zoom wasn't letting you copy and paste. I did not know that. Okay, how many preclinical service awards are anticipated this year?
We don't have a fit number. Again, everything is budget dependent, and that's been a little up in the air, as you know, with some of the congressional news you read. And it really depends on the cost of each project. In general, we support a handful each year in the, I would say, 10 to 15 project range per year. Maybe more like the 10 to 12 range.
All right. For small batch manufacturing, we are planning to use our existing set of qualified suppliers. Are we able to use them under the Catalyze preclinical program?
Diana, do you want to walk through the coordinating center's validation of contract organizations?
So can you read which question is this? I missed that.
Oh, sorry, Diana. Of course, I just moved it to answered. For small batch manufacturing, we are planning to use our existing set of qualified suppliers. Can we use them under the Catalyze preclinical program?
So quite possibly. We do have a number of investigators who are awarded preclinical services and have already started either manufacturing or in some cases non-clinical toxicology studies with that manufacturer. We will qualify the vendor, and if we've either used them before or we qualify them and deem them to be appropriate, because we also have to go through a cost bidding assessment, then yes, we make every effort to try and use vendors that you've used in the past, reduces costs for us because we don't have to do tech transfer. There's already knowledge of the medical product. So yes, in most cases, you are able to use vendors that you've used in the past.
Great. Okay. There is a question about research team and mentorship. Is a clinical or industry mentor required or recommended? Can the PI be a postdoc, or must a faculty member serve as a PI?
Goes back to the definition of eligible applicant, or I guess PI or program director, however the NOFO defines it. It's somebody with the relevant expertise in order to conduct the study. Now you have that aspect, then you have the other aspect of selling this to review, right? So you have your study section. Is this individual going to have not only the CV, but the credibility to go through review and pass that muster? So without answering your question directly, that's the best way I can answer it. I will say there are cases of postdocs or research scientists within a lab where these individuals are highly involved and critical to projects. These projects wouldn't progress without these individuals' ability to participate and work on it. So again, it's not as simple as a one size fits all. It's what is your project? What is this person? What is their capability? And how can you demonstrate that relationship?
Okay. Are the R61, R33 budgetary years needed to match the NIH fiscal year?
The answer is no, but you can't, obviously you can't, for NHLBI or NIH rules, you can't have two awards in the same budget year. So that means you can't propose a 6-month or 18-month study. They have to be a whole year of funding for each budget period.
Thanks, Mike. Are the scientific reviewers intramural to NHLBI or extramural? Does an applicant have any say in including or excluding reviewers? And if it goes to an extramural reviewer and the project has ideas under patent, how is the IP protected?
Nitin, would you want to answer this on NIH peer review for the product definition program?
Yes. Most of the reviewers in the study section are extramural. For the first part of the question, we do. So NIH has very strict policies about the IP protection. So every external reviewer who comes to the study section has to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and so we have rarely seen cases where ideas or IPs have been breached. With that said, it should be you should be fairly confident submitting your ideas, because every application that we receive that is reviewed at NIH is some sort of innovative and novel idea, which most of the times have not been researched on before. So it will go in that category.
Great. Okay. How much emphasis is placed on a device versus a diagnostic that uses existing clinical lab equipment? This person has already gone through the online fit for Catalyze decision tree, and it seemed to require that a device was part of the scope or the plan.
So, Tom, you're a device guy. You want to answer the importance of quick development versus the longer term development?
Sure. I guess depending on if the offer has been through the FDA with a regulatory strategy meeting, if it does has a clear critical pathway with a regulatory strategy, and one will be able to go through that. Um, and the second part, Marissa, could you repeat the second part if they would prefer the longer developmental pathway?
Yes. Oh, let me see. Sorry, Tom, let me find it. Shoot, I've lost it. Yeah, Tom, let's go back to that when I find it. I know we only have a couple minutes left. Okay, for preclinical services, is the award duration limited to 12 months or a federal budget year? 12 months.
Yep.
Yeah, so generally speaking, we're funding the milestones. So if they take a little longer than 12 months, that's fine, or a little shorter. But generally speaking, we're trying to fund these because of the mechanisms we're using, really milestone by milestone, so that we can get you on your way and bring in someone else, or if you need a little more support, we're not strictly pushed to that 12-month fiscal year time frame.
Great. Okay, I'm still looking for that previous question, but I think we've answered everything.
May I answer one at the end here
Yes.
from Sharon Wing?
Yes.
The question is, there has been a similar device funded by Catalyze previously. Would you fund another one if we can clearly demonstrate the difference? Well, I've had ice cream before, and I'm not going to stop eating ice cream. If there is a discernible difference, something that shows efficacy and something superior over our current technology, or something that perhaps is an analog, perhaps a current device or technology can help a subset of people. Your technology overlaps with that and includes another subset. The answer is yes. The key thing is something that's innovative, transformative, and meets the nature or the scope of what this program is, and is within heart, lung, blood, and sleep.
Thank you, Rahul. And Tom, I did find this question again. So I believe you answered it actually, but I am going to read it one more time. The question is, how much emphasis is placed on a medical device, so something that's portable, point of care, and inexpensive, versus a diagnostic, which is rapid, that uses existing clinical lab equipment? And this person had gone through our decision tree online, and it seemed like there was more emphasis placed on devices.
Can you say that again? Sorry, my internet was unstable. It went out.
Sorry. How much emphasis is placed on a device, something that's portable, available at the point of care, and inexpensive, versus a diagnostic, something that's rapid and uses existing clinical lab equipment? When this person went through the survey that we have to the decision tree, it seemed like there was more emphasis placed on a device.
And I think very similar to Rahul's answer before, I think it really depends on the novelty of specific device and how much does it bring to able to either diagnose or potentially fix the heart, lung, and blood and sleep disorder issues. So it really depends. And I'll be happy to dig into more details if there's a particular device that needs to be discussed as well.
Thanks for that, Tom. I do see a couple additional questions that are open in the chat, but I do have access to all of your email addresses through the registration. So anything that's left unanswered today, since we are at the top of the hour, we will get back to you. And like I said, I will certainly send out applicable resources as well as email addresses right after this webinar. So thank you everyone for such great engagement. And as always, thank you to our NHLBI colleagues, as well as our coordinating center colleagues for providing such useful and great information so efficiently. All right, everyone. Thank you and have a wonderful Friday and weekend.